put a label on it, sometimes it's easier to then just say, oh, you're just too emotional, or you just don't understand me because you just think about everything logically, right? And I think that it almost misses the point. So here's what I'm going to say, is that one of the really key things that we need in relationships is validation. Okay? And so it's one of the 7 important needs in relationships, okay, is validation. And this is something that I think we really miss, because oftentimes we're trying to express ourselves, we're trying to share our emotions, we're trying to tell people how we feel when we really aren't listening, okay?
Yeah.
And so when we're communicating, first of all, I think it's really important to validate your own emotions. Like we talked about, doing that body scan. Okay, something happened, especially in a relationship, right? Where we're like, a lot of times that's where things will come up where we're like, oh my gosh, that hit me wrong, or I'm offended by that, or whatever. We have this physical sensation happen, right? We go to fight or flight, or we go to survival, and it's usually because of somebody else, right, in our lives that's doing this, and yet it's our own. We need to own it. We need to own our own emotions and how it's making us feel, because really what it is they were just the circumstance. What they did was something that we then took and made mean something in our own selves that created our emotion. And so at that point, this is where that taking a break, stopping and saying, okay, do that body scan. Where am I feeling that? What words can I put to this feeling, right? And so then we can more easily express to others how we're feeling, instead of just blowing up and making it like putting it on them. Oh, you shouldn't have said that because blah, 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 right? We own it. Seeing others as real and being able to validate their experience will bring you closer together than anything else.
Wow.
Because we want to be able to see them and we want to be seen, but we create all of these expectations about what we want the relationship to be and how we want them to meet our needs, and all of these things that get really muddy when what we need to do is just take a step back and really understand where we're coming from and saying, okay, why is this coming up for me? And how can I work through this? And if you need to get help, whether that's therapy, or maybe you do talk to a friend who has been through something like that before, or journaling. I love writing things out because then you can see it, you know, and you can work through that better when you can take the time to just work through and say, how am I feeling? And just start writing and then read through it and say, what is really going on with me and what is coming up here? And that's going to create more stability in yourself. Yeah. Because relationships are all about where you are in your emotional intelligence.
Wow. That is really, really good, and I really thank you for sharing that, because I feel like that, first of all, not necessarily like separating the two, because like you said, that's the first mistake, is like emotion versus logical. I feel like validating both parties is absolutely necessary, and I feel like this can be like something people have to grow through a lot, and I feel like this is something that should be talked more about. I feel like emotions are kind of that thing that's just kind of like pushed under the rug, like, oh no, we shouldn't talk about our emotions. But it's like you said, it's so important, especially when you're wanting to grow those relationships and evolve those relationships depending on what relationship it is. So I feel like that was really, really good, and I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, and learning that, something I think is really important is learning more about what that means to validate, because it isn't agreeing. Okay, that's something that I found was a really important part of that validating, is recognizing that we don't have to agree to validate somebody. You know, that they're worthy, that they're valuable, that they have worth, and that is that is why it's important to validate. And it doesn't mean that we don't have to agree with what they're saying, right? I don't feel like, and a lot of times it's like we try to fix things, right? And so it becomes like, oh, I have to fix it, and so therefore I'm going to give you all of this advice about blah, 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 right? Instead of just saying, I see you. I feel like that was important to kind of throw in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else that you feel like we didn't hit on, or if there's something else you want to say to the person listening today?
One of the most important things is to truly enjoy the journey. Like, you were going to get it wrong sometimes, but you're also going to get it right, and celebrate the wins. Like, we get so stuck in this, we aren't enough, we're not doing enough, we set goals and then we get there, but that's not all the way like to the ideal, and so we struggle. I know I do, in this space of not giving ourselves enough credit, not giving ourselves enough grace, and really truly just enjoying the journey and being like, it's okay that I am not perfect. It's really okay. And having that opportunity to learn is a gift.
Right.
That all of these emotions are messages. That there aren't truly, yes, we label them good and bad, or negative and positive emotions, but really and truly every single emotion that we have and experience is a message. It's something that we can take and look at and examine and say, how did I get to this space of happy? How did I get to this space of sad? Or, when you understand that process, or understand that emotions can be clues to where we are right now, is really useful. And we can take that and we can say, okay, so every single day we're becoming more of who we will be in the future. And so I like to look at myself and say, okay, in 10 years from now, who do I want to be? And what choices am I making today that will help me to, I like to say, what will I do today that my future self will thank me for? And to really want to be that person, or to get to be that person, I have to do things today that will help me to get to that space.
Absolutely.
And so I think especially in this, being emotionally intelligent beings is absolutely possible. It takes work and effort, and it's uncomfortable, but embracing that uncomfortable, because growth really happens when we step out of that comfort zone, right? Because we create spaces where we do feel comfortable in unhealthiness even. And so we have a hard time stepping outside of that, even if we want to. And so give yourself the grace that it takes to be able to baby step your way towards your best future self.
Wow, that's amazing. I think that everybody needed to hear that as a closing statement today. And, Jackie, I just really appreciate you sharing all of your expertise with us today, and just your life journey with us. Like, you've expressed to us that it's not always going to be easy. It hasn't always been easy. You wanted to do this so that you can become better yourself. And I feel like that's a beautiful thing to recognize in itself, that you decided to take this class, not just because you wanted to be a coach, but because you wanted to do it for you. And I just absolutely love talking to you. I remember our first conversation, and we were on the phone for like an hour, and it was just like, it was such a powerful conversation, and I knew that you were someone that I wanted to surround myself with. And you are such just a beautiful soul, and you have this burning desire inside of you that wants to help everybody, but like, I feel like you can help women in such a powerful, beautiful way, and where we need that extra support and that extra love and that extra validation and understanding in life. So I just really appreciate you coming on here and just really sharing everything that you did with us today.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast, really. Thank you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. So I have Jackie's 3 fun facts here with me, actually. One of her fun facts is that one of her hobbies is creating stained glass pieces with her aunt, who passed down the art to her from her grandparents who had a workshop in their basement, which is like super awesome. She has 6 siblings and they all have J names. Her last fun fact is she's been traveling full-time with her husband for over 2.5 years and are in the process of building out a Mercedes Sprinter into a camper van. I love that. We also always like to end with a Bible verse here on the Wellness Rock. We just really love keeping God in the center. And the Bible verse that you picked today is Ephesians 6:13. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. I absolutely love that verse, and I would love to hear your take on why you chose that. I feel like it's just important for us to put on that armor of God before we step out into the world and the flesh, and to really put that armor on before we're encountering all of those things throughout our day. You know, I really love that verse, and I'd love for you to kind of tell us why you chose that one.
We ourselves are amazing, but when we take on and we use the things that God has given us to be able to take ourselves into the world, there's so many things that are coming at us at the same, like all the time, right? And so I found that when I am Christ-centered, when I focus on the strength that I get from Him and His example, like one of my favorite words in the world is equanimity, which is like this place of being able to not necessarily be neutral, but really to me embodies the idea of emotional intelligence. And I see Christ in that space where He was the ultimate like person who exhibited emotional intelligence. And what a great example. And so to put on armor and to be able to use that for ourselves in a way that's not putting up like barriers and all these things that force us to be internal and whatever. It's more of our way of being able to take on the world and grow by having the shield and the sword, and you know, it's the way that we fight off the things that would keep us stuck.
Yeah, that's so good. Like God already gave that to us, so we don't have to put our shields of protection on. We need to put God's shields of protection on, and I absolutely love that. So again, Jackie, I just loved having you here today. If anybody wants to get a hold of her, you want those essential oils, you have some questions to ask her, you can find her on Instagram at sweetspot_life. So that's SWEETSPOT_LIFE. And you always know where to find me at the Wellness Rock. So I hope you guys all have an amazing day. Thank you for tuning into this episode. If you like it, make sure you share it with your friends. Leave a comment, review, so other people can really get the understanding of emotions that we were able to hear today from Jackie. So thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you. It was amazing.